Ukraine hits 2 Russian patrol ships in occupied Crimea. Ukrainian drones struck deep inside Russia and inside occupied Crimea within the same operation, damaging 2 Russian Coast Guard patrol ships and setting fire to one of Russia's largest oil refineries more than 700 kilometers, 435 miles from Ukraine's border, according to Ukraine's security service, known by its Ukrainian acronym SBU. The SBU said it struck the Slavneft-YANOS oil refinery in Yaroslavl, Russia, on August 6, 2026, working jointly with other components of Ukraine's defense forces, while separate drone strikes hit the port area of occupied Kerch, damaging 2 Project 10410 Slavneft-YANOS patrol ships belonging to the Russian Federal Security Service's Coast Guard, identified as the Balaklava and the Kerch. The Yaroslavl refinery ranks among Russia's 5 largest oil processing facilities, with an annual capacity of roughly 15 million tons of crude, and its output supplies gasoline, diesel fuel, and aviation kerosene to Russia's central regions, including the greater Moscow area. Striking a facility that far from Ukrainian territory demonstrates the extended reach Ukraine's drone forces have built over the course of the war, hitting critical fuel infrastructure hundreds of kilometers beyond the front lines rather than limiting strikes to targets closer to Ukrainian-controlled territory, a pattern that has become increasingly common as Ukraine has expanded its long-range strike drone programs. The 2 damaged vessels in Kerch belong to a patrol boat class that has become a recurring target for Ukrainian drone operators throughout 2026. The Project 10410 Svetliak, sometimes transliterated as Svitlyak, is a small patrol boat design built in the Soviet Union and later Russia since the late 1980s, displacing roughly 375 tons and stretching about 49 meters 161 feet in length, armed with a 76mm 3-inch deck gun, AK-630 Closian weapon systems designed to shoot down incoming missiles or aircraft, and Igla-1M surface-war missiles. Both the Russian Navy and the FSB Border Service operate the class, and the FSB-operated versions serve specifically as coastal security vessels around occupied Crimea, monitoring port approaches, escorting other ships through contested waters, and forming part of a layered screen meant to detect and intercept Ukrainian naval threats before they reach protected targets, like the Kerch Bridge, the roughly 19-kilometer 12-mile structure connecting Russia to occupied Crimea across the Kerch Strait. The defense blog has tracked a steady pattern of Ukrainian strikes against exactly this class of vessel across multiple theaters in recent months. Ukraine's unmanned systems forces struck a Svetliak patrol boat near Kerch in early June 2026 using FP-2 fixed-wing strike drones, an attack that produced video evidence of crew casualties and sailors jumping overboard to escape the sinking vessel. While a separate strike in May 2026 hit a Svetliak boat more than 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles from Ukraine's borders at Kaspiansk port in Dagestan, part of an escalating campaign of Ukrainian drone strikes against Russian naval assets in the Caspian Sea that has continued since Ukraine's military intelligence directorate first struck the Caspian flotilla in November 2024. Ukraine's navy separately struck 2 different patrol boats, the Sobol and the Grakanok, guarding the Kerch Bridge itself in an April 30, 2026 operation, and in June 2026 Ukrainian naval forces sank a Rubin-class FSB border guard ship called the Azumrud near Novorossiysk using a domestically built uncrewed surface vessel called the Sargon 3000, a vessel the Ukrainian Navy noted had participated in Russia's 2018 seizure of Ukrainian naval ships in the Kerch Strait. The SBU framed the twin August 6 strikes as part of a broader, sustained campaign rather than an isolated operation. The SBU is consistently working to reduce Russia's military-economic potential. Military facilities, fuel and energy sector enterprises, and other legitimate targets that work directly for Russian aggression against Ukraine will continue to come under strikes, the SBU said. The pairing of a refinery strike deep inside Russia with a coastal patrol boat strike inside occupied Crimea, executed as part of the same reported operation, illustrates how Ukraine has increasingly combined economic pressure campaigns targeting Russia's oil industry with more localized military strikes against the naval assets protecting occupied territory, treating both as complementary pieces of the same broader strategy to weaken Russia's ability to sustain the war. What remains unclear from the SBU's initial statement is the precise extent of the damage to the Balaklava and the Kerch, including whether either vessel remains operational, sustained casualties among their crews, or required evacuation, details that typically emerge in the days following an initial strike announcement as satellite imagery, additional Ukrainian reporting, or Russian sources provide further confirmation. The SBU's account similarly does not specify what type of drones carried out the Kerch port strikes, a detail that has varied across recent Ukrainian operations against Crimean coastal targets, depending on which unit executed the mission and what munitions were available.